Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to a news cycle on Global TV. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Uyi Agumofwegbe. President Bola Tinubu has pledged better living and working conditions for all Nigerians of working age, saying the custodians of the nation's machinery deserve a fair wage and enhanced welfare. The president made this pledge in his maiden May Day message dedicated to workers nationwide. President Tinubu's special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, conveyed the president's remarks in a statement signed titled President Tinubu Salutes Nigerian Workers on May Day. According to him, the president affirmed that his administration remains committed to improving the welfare of all workers, noting that the various relief programs, including the wage award and the imminent minimum wage review. President Bola Tinubu has sympathized with victims of the recent gas explosion at Itaoshin, Abeokuta North Local Government area of Ogun State. The president also sympathized with the Ogun State government and residents of the states over this tragedy, as according to a statement by Tinubu's special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale. At least one person was reported dead, 6 others injured, and 6 vehicles were burnt in a gas tanker explosion last Saturday at Itaoshin along the Abeokuta-Songo Lagos Expressway. The incident reportedly happened at about 4:10 p.m. The explosion from a solitary gas truck rippled through the community, resulting in the loss of life and property. President Tinubu commended Governor Dakpo Abiodun on his valiant efforts to arrest the situation and immediately restore calm to the community. Let's turn to other stories now. The federal government has declared today, May 1, as public holiday to mark this year's Workers' Day. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji Ojo made this declaration on behalf of the federal government in a statement issued on Tuesday in Abuja by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Dr. Aisha Gogo Ndayako. Tunji Ojo reiterated the need for excellence, efficiency, and equity in all spheres of labor, reaffirming President Bola Tinubu's administration's commitment to fostering a culture of innovation, productivity, and inclusivity in the workplace. While acknowledging the contribution of workers, he called for proactive measures to mitigate the adverse impact of climate change through synergy in the implementation of sustainable practices and policies that promote well-being in the workplace, and in building a nation guided by the principles of integrity, diligence, and compassion. The minister also urged Nigerians to remain committed to the present administration's renewed hope agenda as he wished workers a happy celebration. IAGA Africa has called on President Tinubu-led administration to articulate and implement a definitive electoral reform agenda. Executive Director IAGA Africa, Samson Itodo, made the call while reeling out a recommendation after presenting a report on Nigeria's electoral process 1 year after the 2023 general election. He said the commitment of the president to supporting and assenting to legislative efforts to reform the electoral framework are critical to restoring public trusts, while charging the judiciary to conduct an introspective audit to rectify the inconsistencies and legal discrepancies that have contributed to a decline in judicial trust among Nigerian people. Kikelamo Okere has details for us.
The pro-democracy organization noted that 1 year after the general election, an Afrobarometer survey revealed that only 23% of Nigeria trust the Independent National Electoral Commission, adding that it signifies a crisis of confidence that must be urgently addressed. The Election Monitoring Board stated this in the latest report titled Electoral Trust Restored: Nigeria Electoral Process 1 year after the 2023 general election. The Executive Director, IAGA Africa, insisted on stringent measures against electoral offenders to deter future misconduct. He further urged the judiciary and security agencies to protect the sanctity of electoral material and the legal right of stakeholders to seek justice.
The President has not made any comment or even shared what his stance or the stance of his administration on electoral reforms. The third, that we've constantly observed attempts to capture the institution of INEC through controversial appointments. One other trend is unchecked electoral misconduct and the prosecution of electoral offenders, we've not really made progress. And that's why you have this culture of electoral impunity within our political system.
A comprehensive analysis of the state of the electoral process following the latest general election shows that there is decline in public trust and unclear stance of the Tinubu-led administration on electoral reform.
To ensure that our next election is better than the one that brought us in. We saw that happen in 2007, after the 2007 elections, with Yar'Adua's government, and we have seen that commitment to say, look, we need to take some actions, and we know what those actions led to. And in fact, today, we may not be talking about the history of some of the reforms that have been made in our electoral history, particularly the recent ones, without making reference to some of those actions that were taken after the 2007 elections.
The perceived capture of the election management body through partisan appointments undermine INEC's integrity. IAGA Africa says it stands firm against any form of political interference that compromises the neutrality and independence of the electoral institution. Kikelomo Okem, Global Television News.
Thank you, Kikelomo Okere. Justice Iyangeku of the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed two separate suits challenging the People's Democratic Party's primary election that produced Ighodalo as the party's governorship candidate for Edo poll. The court dismissed the suits on the premise of a lack of local stand-by on the part of the plaintiffs. Justice Eko held that the plaintiffs failed to convince the court or show sufficient direct and tangible personal interest that could lead the court to nullify the primary election. The court maintained that the plaintiffs did not establish how their interests were affected or jeopardized by the primary election. The House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum Resources, Downstream and Midstream has called on security agencies to pick up holders of premium motor spirits, also known as petrol, as the scarcity of the product continues to challenge the Nigerian. This is as the committee assured Nigerians that its findings revealed the availability of petrol, stressing that the logistical challenges that have made the product scarce are being addressed. Addressing a press conference at the National Assembly Complex in Abuja, co-chair of the committee and chairman, House Committee on Petroleum Resources, Downstream, Ikenga Ogonchiyere, said although there was enough petrol to service the country for about 30 days, the supply and distribution to marketers was disrupted by challenges of transport vessels. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has begun offloading 240 million liters of premium motor spirits, otherwise called petrol, as it stepped up efforts to tackle the worsening nationwide petrol scarcity. As the company began offloading petrol, filling stations sold the product at an average price of 800 naira per liter in various locations. The 240 million liters of petrol imported into the country came in through 5 vessels, which were offloaded into 5 depots. Despite claims by the NNPCL that logistic issues causing fuel scarcity had been addressed, Nigerians in Lagos and other parts of the country still struggled to get fuel as many filling stations remained shut. In continuation of its crackdown on forex racketeers, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has penciled for investigation 1,146 bank accounts belonging to individuals and companies over alleged money laundering, unauthorized dealing in foreign exchange and illegal naira manipulation. The Commission secured an interim order granted by Justice Emeka Winte of the Federal High Court in Abuja, freezing the accounts. The Commission had told the court that the accounts were linked to persons taking advantage of cryptocurrency to illegally manipulate the naira value. Minister of Works David Umahi has said that closed-circuit television and solar lights would be installed on the 3rd Mainland Bridge by June to check the activities of illegal miners in the infrastructure. Umahi said this after a routine inspection of the on-the-deck project at Ido Bridge, Kata Bridge and the 3rd Mainland Bridges in Lagos. He said Berger is the contractor doing the Ido Bridge, Kata Bridge and 3rd Mainland Bridge and has seen the pace of work made and also happy with it. He promised to increase the pace of work against the incoming Lagon tide in June. And now to matters of education, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has released the results of the 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, showing that 1.4 million candidates out of 1.8 million failed to score 200 out of 400 marks. The number of candidates who failed to score half of the possible marks represents 78% of the candidates whose results were released by JAMB. Giving a breakdown of the results of the 1.8 million candidates released, the board's registrar, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, noted that 8,401 candidates scored 300 and above, 77,070 scored 250 and above, 493,974 scored 200 and above, while 1.4 million scored below 200. You're watching a news cycle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all of our social media platforms using a global TVNG and other handles as you now see on your screen. When news cycle returns, the federal government to pay 2.75 billion naira compensation. Today, we have these and other stories for you right after this short break. Do stay with us. You're watching a live broadcast of News Cycle here on Global Television with Uyag Mofwegbe. We appreciate your presence with us on the news. Let's take you to the foreign scene now, where the first proceedings in a sprawling multi-part trial against members of an alleged far-right plot to attack the German parliament and overthrow the government began in Stuttgart, Germany. 9 members of the group, led by the minor aristocrats and businessman Prince Henrik III, Roos, will take the stand in the southwestern city. They included, among others, a special forces soldier, a former far-right MP, an astrologer, and a well-known chief. Prosecutors accused them of preparing a treasonous undertaking to topple the German government. The affair is the most high-profile recent case of far-right violence, which officials say has grown to become the biggest extremist threat in Germany. The United Kingdom government has confirmed it has detained an unspecified number of migrants in recent days who are set to be deported to Rwanda in July under its controversial new policy. It comes a week after lawmakers ended months of parliamentary wrangling and passed a contentious law allowing some asylum seekers to be deported by declaring Rwanda to be a safe third country. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who has vowed to stop migrants arriving on small boats from mainland Europe, vowed last week to begin detaining people promptly before deportation flights start within 10 to 12 weeks. The National Secretary of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, James Tor, has cited the Israel-Iran crisis as a major cause of the current fuel scarcity in Nigeria. In the past few days, fuel scarcity has led to long queues at filling stations, panic buying, and a surge in transport fares. Commenting on the development, Tor highlighted the federal government's role in importing petroleum products and allocating them to stakeholders, including IPMAN, for distribution. He noted that the current geopolitical tensions in the Middle East and compounded existing challenges, leading to a bottleneck in the supply chain. He, however, said that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, had increased efforts to alleviate the situation by opening up depots to ensure a steady supply of the product. As part of efforts to increase the gross domestic products of the country, the federal government says it is set to establish solid minerals cooperation with private-driven structure. The Vice President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, disclosed this while declaring open a 2-day roundtable summit on sustainable development of mining industry in Nigeria. Sharon Ajay has details for us.
The Vice President, who was represented by the Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule, stressed that the establishment of the corporation will attract more investors into the sector, adding that 50% of the revenue will go to private sector, while 25% will go to Nigeria at large, and the remaining 25% will go to the government's purse. He further disclosed that the federal government will launch a lithium producing company in Nasarawa State in the next few weeks, which will be producing over 4,000 metric lithium per day.
Nigeria is blessed when it comes to solid minerals. And indeed, solid minerals is the way to go. The minister has said so much about so many things that I wanted to have said. Everywhere you see Mr. President now, in every country he has gone, the minister has become the senior minister. I'm the junior minister. I think the president is now the senior minister of solid minerals. Because what I see him doing is, everywhere he goes, he will say, in Nigeria, we have the highest purity of lithium. In Nigeria, I say, this man who's teaching you about lithium? And this is what is actually, going on, because the lithium is the direction to go. We have not had any NEC meeting where the minister was invited to come and make a presentation, but he had taken it, and the moment he said 50% of this structure is going to be private sector driven.
Our partnership with NIPS enables us to provide strategic counsel to institutions on interactions and partnerships with government entities. We enable investment decisions making, and we build corporate reputation and citizenship. We also drive alignments of corporate interests with the government policy objectives. Through these brainstorming sessions of today, we hope to bring key stakeholders in mining from the private sector, government, and the civil society to discuss the current mining landscape in Nigeria and explore potential opportunities for investment facilitation and sector development.
In his address, the Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alake, stated that government has established mining marshals to curb illegal mining activities in the sector across the nation, while disclosing that the over 200 mine marshals have been trained by military in each state. Alake noted that without securing the mining sector, the effort of the government will be futile. He stressed that the federal government tends to sanitize the environment to attract more investors and legal miners.
Projection is not a fluke. He knows what he's saying. By the time we are done with all of these efforts and inputs and policy initiatives that we are putting in place, trillion of naira will just be a child's play. We'll be nudging the trillions of dollars. Already, we are embarking on aggressive and proactive promotion of Nigeria's endowment to foreign investors.
We identified the mining sector as one of the sectors that can contribute to our reaching $1 trillion economy in a very short time. We believe that the $1 trillion economy cannot be achieved if the mining sector is underperforming or is not paying its own fair share. There is no country that has made significant contributions to its own GDP or that has grown without a successful steel sector.
Sharona J. reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Sharon, for that reporting there. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has again justified its reliance on the loan deposit ratio, LDR, to control the country's rising inflation. The Apex Bank also said it is ready to do whatever it takes to reduce the inflation rate. The Central Bank's Acting Director of Banking Supervision Department, Dr. Adetona Adedeji, disclosed this in CBN Talk today. The CBN reduced the LDR of banks from the previous 65% to 50%, a move the regulator said would stabilize the economy. The federal government has approved a 25 to 35% increase in the salary structures of police officers, the armed forces, public servants, among others. It was announced through the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, stating that the salary raise takes effect from January 1, 2024. The NSIWC, in a statement issued by its head of press, Emmanuel Njoku, said the approved increase of between 25 to 30% in salary was for civil servants on the remaining 6 consolidated salary structures. The federal government has announced that it is set to issue a fully valid operating license to the 650,000 barrels per day capacity Dangote Petroleum Refinery. It announced this at the Stakeholders Consultation Forum on Midstream and Petroleum Host Community Development Trust Regulations organized by the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Abuja. The agency, which is a part of federal government, however, explained that though it had awarded a pre-commissioning license to the $20 billion refinery, a fully valid operating license would be issued to Dangote soon. Minister of Works David Umahi has disclosed that the federal government will pay 2.75 billion naira compensation to property owners affected by the demolition necessary for the destruction or construction of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway spanning from Channel O to Channel 3. He revealed this information during a stakeholders meeting held in Lagos State. More compensation, he says, is expected to be paid in coming days. And now let's take a quick look at sports. English Premier League club Everton, the latest club to be linked with Nigeria international Wilfred Ndidi, with reports saying the Toffees have tabled an offer to the midfielder ahead of next season. Following an impressive 2023-2024 season with Leicester City in the English Championship, Nigeria international Ndidi has seen his status raised again to become one of the most reliable and sought-after defensive midfielders in Europe. After going down with the Foxes, Ndidi was immediately linked with a move away from the club, but the King Power outfits were able to hold on to the midfielder, who had just a year left on his contract at the time. The 27-year-old played a key role as a Leicester gained promotion back to the Premier League, contributing 4 goals and 5 assists in 31 appearances this season. The Nigerian international goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie has etched her name in the history books by becoming the first African and Nigerian player to be crowned the best goalkeeper in the French D1 Arkemba Women's League. The 23-year-old shot-stopper's remarkable achievements this season, including her penalty-saving heroics, cemented her status as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Nnadozie beat out stiff competition from Olympic Lyon's Christian Endler and Katarzyna Kendrynek of Paris Saint-Germain to claim the coveted individual accolade. Nandozie's penalty-saving prowess was unmatched this season, with the Nigerian international saving an impressive 7 penalties, the highest tally in Europe. And that's a full circle here on the news. Thank you so very much for watching. I am Wiyag Mofwebe. Coming up next is Big Talk with Michael Ledika. Have a great time.